Welcome to hopefully the final episode of this tutorial series. In this episode, we will have a look how to restructure our whole development of environment so that we can also deploy it to a live server and hopefully use Git to push and pull our latest updates so we can change them on the live server. There are two ways though how you can deploy to live server or to web server. The one is the manual way, which means you just have to make a copy of your database, and the first time you then deploy it to the website, you have then to remove the config and the files folder. So you will be welcomed again with the installation folder, because then Concrete will recreate again the config and the files folder for you, and then knows which kind of database to connect to. And then you just import that SQL dump or the database from your local environment to the web server database. But that is like maybe the quick solution, the quick and dirty solution. But if you have to deploy multiple times, if you have to do updates once in a while, then it's always good to do it with Git. And the advantage with Git is you always have somewhere a backup. So maybe your computer gets stolen, maybe something like this happens or that happens. So it's always good to use Git here. Before we initialize this repository with Git, I just want to create a gitignore in the beginning. And there's many things that should be not included for Concrete 5. I have a whole list here that I just copy paste. You get this file in the comment, or you can find it in the comment, or I probably will just share the link of my Git repository with all the deployment files on GitHub, so you just can copy paste it. But what this generally means, it just ignores all the config files and the files. So whenever you initialize this repository on a new installation or new path, you will always be welcomed with a new Concrete 5 installation screen. So you have to recreate the setup of saying where is the database located and so on. Before I'm also again doing a git initialize, I just want to do a copy of my current database. So inside my command line, I write SQL dump u is the root. Then the database is ugly block. I have no password, and that is then SQL dump.sql. So I want to export it inside the file SQL dump. I run this one. And we can see that the SQL dump created a backup of the database or exported the database. So now I'm finally ready to initialize this repository with git init. Then I can type git add all, and then I commit my changes. And yes, this can take some time for Git now. So now we are done with adding all these files. Then I'm just creating a commit. Initial commit and ready to deploy. And while it's committing, I'm creating a new repository that I'm calling then ugly block C5 for concrete 5. The repository for the ugly block concrete 5 website. Usually you want to make this private, but since this is a tutorial video, I can make it public for you guys. And I create the repository and then push an existing repository from the command line. So I go back to my command line here and I push my changes then. Amazing. So I'm currently running a web server, a custom VPS from Google Cloud. I'm running Nginx on it with MariaDB. I'm also currently connected to it. And if we go to var www, we can see that I have an HTML folder here. And the HTML folder currently only contains an index.php file, which is the file you can see here. So in other words, HTML is my web path root directory of my website. So yeah, what I now want to do is I want to go ahead and take the copy of my website and then just clone it. So git, well, let me just prepare it up here. With a dot because I want to clone it inside the repository. So I have to remove all of the files from here. And I have to run git as an admin. So now I can see that I imported all the files here. And now if I rerun the page here, I should be welcomed again with the concrete installation. Okay, that is a strange one. Let me just have a quick look if the application has the config files, and unfortunately it does. So the gitignore was not okay, and it was because I didn't save it. So let me just find for the quick solution how to undo all this git when I didn't save it. So to remove all those. So I'm removing the cache, then I add them all again, git add all. And then fixed untracked files. and then I do a push again. So my repository is up to date again. Now those config files should be gone, and they are gone. Perfect. So I can do a sudo git clone again, probably not sudo git pull, because now we have the git repository. And then let's have a look. Cd application. The config folder is gone. Good. Let's try it again. And there we have it. Now we're getting welcomed again with the installation folder or installation setup for Concrete 5. That is what we want. Writable files and configuration directories. So these directories must exist, and Concrete doesn't have the permissions yet, so I'm just going to create those manually. So make dir config, if I'm not wrong. Let's have a look here. So config. And of course this was again a stupid idea, because we're not in the correct directory. Sudo rm config. And the same goes for files. Let's try to run the test again. And that's probably because my web path here doesn't have access. So this was a really bad setup. I thought I could just get along with it. Probably not. So I just have to look at my group settings. I'm a little bit surprised that there is no www data group here. So probably I just have to do some sudo chmod r755 for everything. Yeah, probably this is like the worst solution ever, but just to get it quickly done. There we have it. So of course you should never ever in your whole life put a web directory into 777, but we don't have time now to do all these changes. So please never use 777. This is just now for this tutorial because I need a quick solution. So it is writable, all tests pass. We can continue with the installation. The site name is going to be again the ugly block. Administrator email address is info. Again, I use hello123. Hello123. I want to have an empty site because I already have all my files. The server is on the local host. MySQL username is going to be ugly admin, because now on the live server I have created one like MySQL user just for this database. MySQL password is hello123, and the database name will be ugly block, which I haven't created yet. So let's go ahead and create one. And to do so, I just then go inside sudo mysql, and here I then say create database, and then the database name should be ugly block. And then I just copy all my characters that I have here from a file. So the ugly block database has been created, and I can exit this one. Yes, I understand. Advanced options in Denmark. System time zone, we are Berlin. Install Concrete 5. And yes, this is totally okay, the database time zone. And this is also something that's totally okay. So I'm going to install Concrete now. I don't have to save it because I know what it's going to be. And you probably can see now that Concrete is installing much faster than on my desktop. My desktop has actually 16 gigabytes of RAM and an i7 Intel Core processor, whereas this Google Cloud not even has 1 RAM and is a very, very small Intel processor. The thing is just like Concrete 5 is simply made to work in a real good web server environment, whereas my computer using XAMPP is simply not really perfect for that. So usually the website always runs faster on a web server than on your local development environment. Concrete 5 has been installed. I can edit the site. I just want to log out real quickly. Sign out. So also to show you how can you log into a Concrete 5 website. So if you access the link, the login page is always located at index.php/dashboard. Then you will be welcomed with this login page, and the default username that you have is always admin, and then your password. This way you can always log in, just so you know what's happening. So it all looks good. The final thing that we are missing is now we need to import our database. And to do that, we then go inside here, and then we can say sudo su mysql u, and that is my ugly admin username that I want to use here. The password is hello123. We want to import it inside the ugly block database, and the file we want to use is sql dump.sql. Oh yeah, and the su is totally overkill here. Can create table ugly block. Okay, that's a strange one, but it kind of seems like it worked. So it looks like this video is going to be in two parts. I'm just quickly stopping here, try to solve it, and then I'll come back, just continuing from importing the database. So see you in the second part then after I solve this one.